Hi guys, this is Freddy. I want to show you one of the patches that I did for Pulsor so you can get an idea of how I think about sound design and when using Zebra. I'm gonna choose one of our patches on Pulsar. In this case, it's Dark Pulse. I think it's a good example just because it's pretty simple, but at the same time, there's a few things happening. There's a couple of layers going on. So it's kind of almost like in the middle ground as far as patches in the library. So let me play first so you can see what's going on and we can start talking about it. Okay, so that's it. So it's a pretty simple pulse. It's not super aggressive, it's very subtle. But it has a few elements happening, and you can hear a bass playing, which is the main pulse. Then you hear that ostinato thingy on top, almost like a pitch shifting thing that adds to the tension a little bit. And then we had that hi-hat almost that gives us a little bit of the percussive element. So if you own Pulsar, you know that the whole library is organized on pulses and stems. I guess most of the library. And the philosophy behind that is that sometimes it's just easier to use the elements on particular patches, especially because these patches are pretty complex, are pretty full. If I play this patch on a movie scene, that could be all you need, so maybe you don't need to add anything else, and that works as it is. So if I just wanna keep adding elements, I'm probably gonna have to use one of the stems. So in this case, let's say I have the bass. I could also use stem B, which is the ostinato element, and then we had our hi-hat. So yeah, each stem is like a submix of a different submix of the main pulse. So, but most of the time you can add them together and you get something very close to our main pulse. So with that said, I think that's the best way to go about this patch, is just to show you each layer and see how each layer was made. For this video, I'm gonna divide each layer, so I think it's what makes more sense. So let's start with the base, layer. So I'm just gonna mute everything right here on the synthesis window and just play with this channel right here, which contains most of the stuff that is happening on the bass. And if you check this out, there's an oscillator and a filter also that are routed to channel 1 through this mixer here. This was muted already. I'm not really using this channel for output, just routing everything here. So let's talk a little bit about this channel. First of all, the way that Zebra works is you have these 4 channels where you do all your synthesis or your sound design, and then you can route it in any way you want. You can pan it, you can choose the output, so you can choose an envelope for each channel. It's almost like a mixer when you have your own DAW. It's like a different track, but it's a little bit more complex and more versatile. So in this case, channel 1 contains my bass, and the way that this is designed is by having an oscillator and then a couple of filters, and this goes for both oscillators that are mixed. I'm gonna mute everything so you can just hear our main oscillator, which is oscillator 2 right here. So be careful because this might be loud. Okay, So you see it's a very aggressive oscillator, very rich as far as frequency goes. And the reason behind that is that I like to have very rich sound that you can filter after. It's a very common subtractive synthesis technique. Well, you have a very rich source that you're gonna mess with later on by filtering, by adding an effect. But the richer it is the more possibilities you have as far as messing with the sound. So I made this one very, very aggressive. I'm using Oscillator 2, and if you click here on Oscillator 2 on our tabs, you'll hear our wavetable, and this is a particular wave that I'm using for this oscillator, which is almost like it's called thin saw pulse. So it's a very aggressive saw pulse. And besides the oscillator, I'm also using a couple of effects. If you check right here on the oscillator effects, you'll see that we have this section where you can add different effects, and you have a lot of stuff. And by the way, this is one of the best things that Zebra has, in my opinion. The effects are really, really cool. You can really mess with the sounds, and you'll see what I did here. Like the expander, it's a great modulation. It makes it very, very strong. Same with the scramble. So you can imagine all the stuff that you could be doing if you just route modulation here later on, right? So this particular oscillator is tuned down a couple of octaves. You can see that here. This is the original sound. So I'm just tuning it down, and this is what lets you choose what wavetail. I'm just using wave 6, which is this one I already showed you, and this is using 2 oscillators, so it's a dual oscillator. You can choose in Zebra what kind of oscillators you want. If you have a single, dual, quad, 11, and dual is cool because you can make it stereo. And the way you do that is by using the mixer with the width. You can separate the output. So right now they're kind of almost panned like 60% each one. If I go to the minimum, you'll see that this is a mono sound now. And right here you have everything panned 100%. So I'm kind of a middle way there. Just because it's a bass, I don't want it to be too wide. And then you have these options here. You could detune the sound, which I'm not doing, and it's just gonna detune one of the sounds to make it sound almost like a chorusing effect. It's very typical subtractive technique, and then you can add vibrato to one of these ones, which I don't think is affecting the sound right now because I'm not using the detune. And that's it. The phasing, yeah, I have sync selected here, which syncs both oscillators, but I'm not really modulating this. You could though. It gives you a lot of cool options. Well, if you listen to the whole sound, it just sounds so different because it's very filtered. So I don't know how much that's gonna affect our sound right now because I'm filtering it so much. But again, it gives you the option later on to mess with it if you want to add, if you want to route different modulation controllers to that. So yeah, that's oscillator 2. Oscillator 1 is this one here. I have to turn on the mixer so you can hear what's coming through oscillator 1. So oscillator 1 is very similar, very aggressive too. If I click the oscillator 1 tab, you'll see that it's using the filter insects wavetable. It's one of the presets that come with Zebra, I think. So right now it's set up on wave 9, which is very cool. It's kind of phasey. It's almost you hear it kind of in a weird stereo way, and it adds a little bit of the high content to this sound. So yeah, I usually when I have a bass pulse, I want to have 2 elements of the bass. I want to have the actual bass, and then I'm gonna have it's gonna be our presence or the high content, so you can control them independently. So this is our bass. I know everything is routed to the mixer. You know, the oscillator has quite a few stuff going on. It have also a couple of effects. It's the filter, the brilliance. You know, just make it brighter here. Same with the brilliance. And what else is a dual oscillator? This one is pan 100%. That's the reason it's so wide. And we also have it tuned down to octaves, right? Besides that, I'm actually modulating the wave. What you can do with this controller here is you can assign any source, and that's gonna modulate this wave. So it's gonna choose different waves from the wavetable. So this is being modulated by this source, which is assigned to the multi-segment envelope generator 2, which is this right here. This one. So I'll talk more about the envelopes later, because that's a big part of what the sound is doing with filtering. But right now, it's just moving the wave a little bit. And I like to have this kind of modulations going on with a lot of my sounds, just because it keeps them organic, keeps them alive. Otherwise, it might sound too synthetic if you start hearing the loop going on the synth. So that kind of prevents that. So yeah, that's a trick that you can do, especially for the pads. It's a great thing to do. And that's it. Oh, actually, it's a little bit detuned. So it has a little bit of that chorusing effect I was talking about before. And that's it. And that's routed to the mixer. There's actually a filter assigned after this, but I'll talk about that in a second. This one is not super important. So yeah. So those are our oscillators on layer 1. So let's talk about the filtering, which is what I think the main component of this sound. Filter 1. So let me just turn on oscillator 2, and this is it. This is what you have. This is the actual groove. So what this filter is doing, you know, by the way, I choose the first one. It's a very simple filter. It's being modulated by the envelope generator 1, which is this one here. I can show you the envelope right here when you click on this tab, right? So let me turn it off first so you can see, you can hear it without it. So this is it. This is the sound right now. This is the original sound. So it's been filtered a lot, right? But the generator is what's controlling the filter. So the way it's set up is kind of almost like a just 12% of the setting. It's a nice groove. It's still subtle. If I open it too much, it gets too aggressive. Some resonance going on here, just to give it a little bit of an edge. And what else? And we also have an LFO that is actually modifying our this controller here. And again, it's just because I like to have LFOs modifying other controllers or other sounds, just to always keep it organic. What else? Nothing interesting here. A little bit of distortion, and that's pretty much it. So our groove here, and what I think is the most important part of this patch is this here. Is the envelope generator. This is right here. This is the groove. These are the notes. So you can draw this, and this is the hardest part for me, I think, to when you're creating a pulse, is just to get that pulse right. You know, you want to get something that is simple, minimalistic, but at the same time that can be hypnotic and interesting, you know, that you can repeat many times and you don't get bored. So that's the hard part. If you get it too complex, then it's just hard to use. It's just hard to implement on your music. Anyway, so you'll see that this is working as an 8-bar envelope. and you can hear it, the filter going down, and each segment here is kind of doing the attack. So depending on how high this is, the filter is gonna open. So yeah, so that's our groove right there. What else? Then we have another filter here, which is just a high pass filter, and this one I'm kind of using almost like an EQ. I'm just filtering a little bit of the lows, so because otherwise it gets just too bassy. And same with oscillator one. This one, we talk about this one. This one was giving us some of the high content, right? So you can hear. Also, the stereo content is almost working here, and you know, that's another thing. When you divide a bass and you want to keep the low elements in the middle, and the stereo field can work with the high frequency part of the sound. It's just gonna sound a little bit tighter. And I have another filter here, by the way, which is just a high pass filter, just because I want to keep only the high stuff, the really high stuff of this patch. It's very subtle. The stereo field is very subtle on this one, but you hear it. And that's it. That's pretty much the whole layer. After that, we have a few effects, but I'll talk about this section later on. So I'm just gonna finish with the other layers first. Now let's talk about this layer, which is our little ostinato. So this one only has an oscillator and a filter. So let me show you what the oscillator is doing first. Let me mute this. So this is our sound. Let me show you the oscillator. So it's just a very, you know, kind of like our default table. Yeah, don't worry about the name here. This in this case, I'm not even moving the weight table, so I'm just using this one. So a few things going on here. You hear the rhythm, and you also hear the tuning effect, right? So the tuning is being done by another envelope generator, which is envelope generator 3. So we can check it out here and here. And this is the chord right here. So this one is controlling the tuning, which also already starts a little bit high. That was kind of goes low, and you see the curve here. This is the tuning. It's just backwards because I have this on negative value, so it's just kind of moving down when I hit it, right? And up, down. So yeah, so that's what gives you that little thing that works as a very nice tension element. And the rhythm is just being done by an LFO, which is controller our main volume of this oscillator. And the LFO 3 is just a 16 LFO. It's just if I turn the volume up, you hear it completely. So I level a little bit of the volume, so it sounds like a continuous sound, but with that pulse. And that's it. This is a single oscillator, so there's nothing going on with the width or vibrato. This is not really affecting anything, and that's pretty much it. That's our scary sound. Then I have a filter going on, which is this right here. So it makes it a little bit more interesting and more subtle too. You know, it's not so much in your face now. So I like it. And now what is this doing is just moving a little bit of our cutoff frequency. Again, same filter. And it's being controlled by an LFO2, which is right here. And this is 10-second LFO, so it's a very slow LFO. You know, if I turn it off, you know, it gets a little bit boring. That way, you keep it. keep it more interesting, more organic. And that's it. There's a little bit of drive on this one, and that's pretty much it. And then this one is routed through this channel, and it goes to bus 1, which is this right here. But I'll talk about the mixer later. Okay, so that was our second layer. So let's talk about our first layer, which is our hi-hat. So this one is pretty simple. It's just a noise generator, and what's going on here is you can filter. I'm filtering the lows here, so just keeping the high elements. It's not even stereo. Like, you could switch it and have an stereo oscillator. I just want to keep it mono, so it's a little bit more subtle. And I'm playing with a little bit with the panning. You see that in a second. So yeah. So what else is going here? That rhythm is being done by another envelope generator, which is the number 1, which is the same one we have for our bass, right? So if I turn it off, this is it. This is the volume. There's a little bit of effect that you hear from our main mixer, and I'll show you those effects later. But for now, this is it. If I want to keep that rhythm, I have to modulate the volume, and I'm using it through this envelope generator that I talked about. So it kind of works nice because it's the same one that I'm using for the bass, so that's why they complement each other very well. So yeah, that's for the noise generator, and the noise is being routed to bus 2, which is right here, and I'll talk about it in a second. Oh, besides that, this is also routed to the mod wheel. Like, the volume is routed to the mod wheel. I'm sorry, the mod wheel is routed to the volume right here on this channel, so I can control a little bit of the volume of that noise generator or hi-hat. And that's pretty much it. Those are the layers of this sound. We are running all this to the mixer, so I'm just gonna talk about the effects and how I'm mixing all this stuff together. So let's turn everything on for a second. Let's go to our main mixer here. Okay, so our first layer of sound, which is the bass, is going to our main mixer. So I'm gonna just show you what's going on our master channel. So when you route this, you can choose main, bus 1 or bus 2, and our main is this one right here. It just works as a regular mixer. You have our master volume here, and you can send to 2 different returns that I have here where you can assign effects. But you can also, like I did, you can have these channels output to the returns, so that way you can you have a little more control and flexibility when mixing the sounds. So in this case, I'm sending our main bass to this master channel. The sends are off right now, so all the stuff you hear is coming through here. And we have 3 different effects. We have an EQ, which is just accenting a little bit of the highs and getting rid of a little bit of the very low. Then we have a compression. You see the difference? Just to tighten it up a little bit, the group, because it's the most important part, the most important element on this pulse. So it needs to be perfect. That's why I'm so picky here. Like, I have another EQ after that. Just what I want to get right. After I use the compression, I noticed that I lost a little bit of my low end. So just do, and I think I add a little bit of our highs. Yeah, so you want to make sure the bass is right. Otherwise, if it just gets too intense, you're just gonna get into in the mix. So this is it. The one other thing that I'm doing with our main layer is that I'm actually assigning the mod wheel to send to. And if you see our return to, we have a couple of things going on. We have a delay, and we have a sub-band generator. So if I turn the send, you'll hear the sound being processed by the delay on the sub-band. So let me just mute our main sound, so you only hear what's being sent here. So the main thing is just the delay. If I turn this, you won't hear much different. This is kind of affecting something else that I'm gonna show you in a second. So yeah, so it's just adding a little bit of delay to the sound. And the send is being controlled by the mod wheel. So I assign this to the mod wheel, so you can add that particular effect with the mod wheel. So let me just undo all this stuff. Okay. So if I move the mod wheel, you'll hear this send being open and close. Okay. Oh, sorry, I had this on. Okay, so that's it for layer 1. So layer 2, this one here, is being sent to return 1, and here we have a delay effect. If I turn everything off, you know, just to give it a little more depth. Very standard delay, it's not doing anything crazy. And then some reverb as well. Very subtle. So that's it for layer 2. And layer 3, our hi-hat, is being sent to this return, right? Bus 2. And now we have the delay that you already heard before. Like if I turn it off, you know, it's kind of subtle, it's kind of nice. And the sub-band is just adding, if I turn it off, it's just kind of boring delay, the noise. The sub-band adds a little bit of a movement, almost like a phasing effect. Then delay makes it more stereo and keep it very subtle. And that's it. That's the whole patch. If I played everything together, so that's it. That's how this was made. So later on, I'll try to show you different patches with different kind of, I guess, approaches on how to make a sound. But definitely the most important here was the envelope generator and how that works and how that generates a rhythm. You know, everything is kind of complementing our rhythm here. So that's it. That's our dark pulse. Hope you learned something from this, and maybe you can use you know, something, a little trick for your own sound designing. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.